Miyazaki doesn't want us to talk about it. I'm president of Colorwood for YouTube. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to talk Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away, the only movie he's won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Now, I love this movie, Patrick, but I don't think this is the movie he should have won for. How many of Miyazaki's films have you watched?
I've seen all of the ones named Spirited Away. Tell me about the others.
Well, there's My Neighbor Totoro,
Yeah.
which is about these two kids, to this father who moves his two daughters into the Japanese countryside because their mother is sick in the hospital. It's sort of to be closer to her as she is sick in the hospital. There's Kiki's Delivery Service, which is about a witch who moves away to sort of find her calling. There is Porco Rosso, which is about a pig who flies a World War I plane. And there's Howl's Moving Castle, which is about a sorcerer in a moving castle. There's Castle in the Sky, which is about a futuristic society high in the sky in a castle, and a girl caught in the middle of it all, and a coal miner caught in the middle of it all. And then there's the one he should have won an award for, which is Princess Mononoke.
Yeah. I know of these.
Yeah, which, by the way, has Billy Bob Thornton in it. It has a lot of people in it, actually.
Now, did he do the Transformers movie?
Did Miyazaki do the Transformers?
Yeah, because it had Orson Welles, Leonard Nimoy. So I thought he could command that kind of talent.
I don't believe he did.
The G.I. Joe movie with Serpentor and Cobra Law. Was that his idea?
I don't know. I do know that he himself is more of a hand-drawn animation artist. He does not believe in like the future technology of CGI and shit.
Okay. Did he do Clutch Cargo?
I don't know.
Did you ever see Clutch Cargo?
No.
You need to Google it and then see what Clutch Cargo is. Because that's real animation.
Cool.
That non-moving images with human mouths with lipstick on them superimposed over the mouths. It's hideous.
Really?
Yes, it's terrifying.
I will definitely check it out. But this movie here is the movie he won an Academy Award for, Spirited Away, which is about a young girl and her parents moving to another place. The little girl is very much a brat in this movie. She does not want to move. She's very about herself, but she's about to get a crash course in what it is to be responsible, and one of the most hardest crash courses you'll see. I really, from start to finish, enjoy this. I watch this I watch Miyazaki films once a year.
Okay. On a second date? Like,
not all in one day. Like, I'll pick a day and I'll pick a certain movie. Now, not all of them were directed by him. So some of them were directed by his predecessors. One, which happens to be my favorite, which is Whisper of the Heart.
Yeah.
But this movie I'll watch every year before October because though it has horror elements, it's not a horror movie itself.
No, it's not. But it does have horror elements, and it's like Disney in that sense, which is one of the reasons why Pixar released this movie, I think, because it does have a very Disney-esque feel. And of course, Miyazaki, as I understand it, idolized Walt Disney.
Yeah, he did. Also, I really think the person who deserves the credit for getting Studio Ghibli released in the U.S. too, at least a lot of the movies, the reason we got him is John Lasseter, who's no longer at Disney. Lasseter was real close with Miyazaki, and he was working at Pixar at the time, and he was a Miyazaki fan, and he wanted to get Miyazaki's work released heavily on DVD in the United States, and that all of them, if you go pick up the Blu-rays, a lot of them are released through Pixar. I think all of them are actually. but because that's when I had bought all my Blu-rays when they had finally come to the U.S. in Blu-ray form through Pixar. Because it said
Now, go on.
It said Walt Disney. Now, where I first watched these, I first watched them, all of them, when John Lasseter was a guest on Turner Classic Movies.
Okay.
With Ben Mankiewicz.
Now, what I used to do is I'd go into a hairstyling salon, and I would say, I want you to do my hair. And I'd say, I got a picture of who I want you to make it look like. And I'd give them a picture of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Never worked.
Nice.
That's like
Goku's wife is a real pill.
Is she? Like literally?
Well, let me put it to you this way. She goes from zero to shrill in a second.
The second it takes to say I do.
Well, there's a really dirty joke in Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball series. It's not called Dragon Ball Z. It's called Dragon Ball when Goku's a kid, and Goku gets married to Chi-Chi, who at the end of Dragon Ball, okay, and he gets married to her, and he goes. They keep talking about like cake and stuff, and like, and they talk about the bride, and so Goku, who's like really naive on a lot of shit, he goes, I thought a bride was something you could eat, and Chi-Chi goes, well, you can, and I'm like, holy Jesus, they went there, but yeah,
I don't understand.
It's like, oh my god. But now this
animals.
Well, no, there was a dirty joke. This has not necessarily dirty jokes, but it has very. It's very interesting how they do the horror in this, because this girl, her parents, they get lost on the way to moving, and they come upon this tunnel. They get out of the car, they go into the tunnel, and they smell food after they cross the tunnel, and they cross a stoned up river. And they see all this food, and they begin eating. And little girl doesn't eat, and she goes wandering off, and she doesn't understand, like, where are we? And she sees this young boy, and he goes, what are you doing here? Get back across the river now. And she doesn't, and all of her sudden her parents have been turned into pigs.
Yes.
Then the little girl tries to push the young boy away because he's trying to help her. He goes, you need to eat this. And one of my favorite early scenes is when you see her arm go through him, and she realizes how messed up of a situation she really is in. Because I think that's when reality has now hit her. Like, oh my God, this is all too real. This is not a dream. I'm not going to wake up from this. I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And she eats it. She eats what he gives her. He even tells her, don't worry, it won't turn you into a pig. Because I think that's what she was scared of too. And he explains rules to her. She goes, go to this person and ask for a job.
Yeah, the arms. Or is it?
No, it's the witch. It's the Baba.
Yeah.
And so now she does go to the arms. Say, hey, I'd like a job. He goes, I can't give you a job. Baba has to do that. And so she goes to Baba, and it turns out that's a rule that she agreed to when she ran the bathhouse, that whoever wants a job, whoever asks for a job, she'll give it to them. But they have to give up certain things. Like she had to give up her name.
Yeah.
And that's something they tell her, don't ever forget your name, because you'll be asked about this. I think this was very, very creative at the time, because Miyazaki had done a lot of films by the time he did Spirited Away. But to do this was really creative. I could have seen Rod Serling do something like this.
Yeah.
When I was watching,
voice that Ghostface has.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Well,
It's
it's like weird. What's up with that?
it's really the no face guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
not Ghostface. That's in Scream.
yeah they call this character, the character you're talking about in Spirited Away, is called No Face,
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
and the he actually sneaks into the bathhouse because she leaves the door open. She's not. She thinks he's a customer who got left out, which makes sense. And all of a sudden, he says, "No, I want that girl. I want Sin to like that." She's saying he knows her and stuff, and he causes all sorts of ruckus for her and stuff, which is crazy in the movie. I mean,
Now,
this movie from start to finish is
when
just
was the first time you snuck into a bathhouse?
never.
Interesting. So you're sticking to that story.
Yes. What about you?
Me? Oh, I think it was somewhere in Salt Lake City. It was under the Mormon Tabernacle, and the Colonel Sanders had been kidnapped, and I had only 24 hours to go in and get him and bring him back alive. Of course, he'd been dead for 25 years at that point. So, but his ashes were in a bucket in this bathhouse, and they're with me to this day. And that's really the secret recipe. The cremain.
So, how honestly, how many of the sorry Miyazaki films have you seen? Just this one?
It is the same number as when you. I have not been able to catch any since the last time I answered this question.
Okay.
Uh, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, this is the main film of his. I and it's an odd thing. I now sympathize with other people when I try to get to watch things. I mean, not like watch someone being mistreated or something, but try and get them to watch a movie. Sometimes they see one and they like it so much they can either see a further one or they can go back and watch it again. And whenever I have a chance and I'm in a Miyazakian mood, I think, well, I could watch, Howl's Moving Castle
Yeah.
or He-Man Revelations or whatever the next thing is that he did, or I could watch Spirited Away again, and it's such an emotionally fulfilling film, partly because of the music,
Yeah.
which I'll tell you what, I only recently have really discovered the shamelessly sentimental but incredibly beautiful music that often goes with video games and movies from Japan. Wow. Wow, what a storytelling element that does not get enough praise, I think.
Now, do you know where the Japanese get their inspiration from?
Well, I'm going to imagine from us, from
Yeah.
American
Yeah. Do you know what genre?
No.
Heavy metal.
Really?
Yep. If you go listen to like Castlevania, um, Super Mario, even, you'll hear a lot of metal inspiration. For example, the Final Fantasy VII game.
Yeah.
The there's a group in there called the Turks. They have their own theme. Go
Yeah.
listen to their theme, and then go listen to the Alice Cooper song "Blue Turks."
Okay.
Or I think it's called Blue Turks, but it is called something Turks. I forget what it is, but it's very that you could tell Final Fantasy VII got their inspiration from that song.
Now,
Um,
I'm a big Gerudo Valley man.
really
That's from, Zelda.
cool, cool.
But I like this anniversary version that's big and orchestral.
Cool.
Do you know
I
that?
Yeah, I just picked up the newer Zelda for the Switch, so
Oh, how is it?
I haven't played it yet. It's for my birthday. I'm not supposed to play it yet.
I understand. I had a Switch for a while.
Cool, cool. But Joe, the guy who does the music for Studio Ghibli and primarily Hayao Miyazaki, is Joe Hisaishi, I think is his name. He did Howl's Moving Castle. He did My Neighbor Totoro. A ton of movies. He did Castle in the Sky. I have never, and he also did Kiki's Delivery Service. He always does a bang up job doing the score for these.
Do they have a similar sound?
To me, no.
Okay.
Like everything, nothing is the same when he does it. Like it's not. Like for example, when you watch the Dollar Trilogy, it's a similar S score other than the Ecstasy of Gold.
Sure.
Now, and I love Ennio Morricone, but to me, like Ennio Morricone's best work as a score was Once Upon a Time in the West. Now for this, Joe Hisaishi adds elements of dark, sad, and excited. And I do think that when you watch Princess Mononoke, you hear a lot more darker-ish tone a bit for that movie. And he's a really great scorer of these films. Nothing sounds the same. I think he did the score for Whisper of the Heart. I'd have to look because I know the opening isn't his. The opening of Whisper of the Heart is Olivia Newton-John's Country Roads. She covered the song Country Road, John Denver's Country Roads.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I liked her version of it for the movie. Because they used the song in the movie because the girl's a writer. Now,
question. Who would win in a fight, Paul Williams or John Denver? Bare knuckled brawl between these two testosterone powerhouses.
I'm gonna go John Denver.
Really? They'd break each other's glasses.
They would. They really would.
You think John Denver would win?
Yeah, I'll pick John Denver for some strange reason.
I don't think he has enough repressed rage, and he wears overalls with no shirt, and that's just a creepy look. Unless you're a lumberjack or something.
So you're gonna go Paul Williams then?
I think so.
Okay, that's that.
Hit him low, hit him hard, but just hit him.
What did you think of the score of this movie?
I mean, I started the conversation. I think it's lush. I think it is absolutely refreshingly shameless in terms of just being completely sentimental. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate about that. It is not like the rest of the film. It's not afraid to be joyous and serious and sad. It will not hold back on any of those things. And I like that.
I'm going to send you some scores from Joe Hisaishi from other Studio Ghibli movies. When we're done. I'll send them to you on Messenger.
I would enjoy that.
So you can listen to the differences and maybe you'll spot some similarities. Who knows? I will say with this movie, most of all, what really shocked, because I watched Princess Mononoke prior to watching this one.
Okay.
Princess Mononoke is more shocking than this movie. What's shocking about this movie most of all is the fact that the little girl is in the land of the spirits, or the land of the dead, if you will. And she's a living person. And she has to interact with these beings. And it's like, would they really just chuck her out into the cold, like fire? And it's like, it seems like they would if they saw the opportunity to, or if she really did mess up.
Yeah.
And that sort of adds that element of fear, like, okay, would she just become a lost soul then? And most likely she would. I love how the train runs on the water. That's just so neat.
There are so many visions that for us are very new and very different. Now, the film is extremely steeped in Japanese mythology. So a lot of the things that for us are fantastic, including the guy with all the arms and all of that, are deeply embedded in Japanese culture.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There is a good YouTube video about the various symbols and bits of Japanese mythology that are so that are sewn into this movie.
I do know that Miyazaki himself and his animators tend to take actual places and put them in the films, draw them in. It's like when you watch Whisper of the Heart, Shizuku, who is walking around Tokyo, everything from the library to the apartment she lives in are actual locations.
That's great. That is showing such respect for the audience.
Yeah. And I mean, that's something I love about Miyazaki's work and his animators, how you can tell they put a lot of heart into it. No matter what film you're watching, it's especially Spirited Away, that you have this imaginary place that isn't intended for the living at all, but yet the living could end up there simply by happenstance or misfortune or misadventure, if you will.
It's like the cast of Mad TV.
Yeah, it really is. And the fact that they take this girl who is is just a brat, and that she has to learn, okay, you wanted to complain about life and you wanted to complain about things. Well, now you have to sort of face your own reality or this sort of hell that you're in.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, you have to sort of face responsibility. I like how that Baba has a twin sister and she switches the baby, the big baby in the room.
God, that baby's horrific.
Yeah. With the 3 like head things, like it's like whoever, like if that was Miyazaki thinking of that, that's just genius.
That's some bad sushi. You have that night and come up with this. Honey, I had the weirdest idea. It's a big baby in their head, and just go with me. Yeah. You know, the sexist among us, frat boy types, have this saying, twins are hot. Yeah. Well, I don't think they really met the twins in this movie. Those 2 sisters. Okay, I'm out. That's it. I'm done. But you know what? Every pot has a lid. Even a double boiler.
I like how that a spirit comes into the bathhouse that is cursed, and Sin ends up helping that spirit out. I think that was very touching. Yeah. One of my favorite scene. What's your favorite scene in this movie?
Oh gosh. I think when she finally when the good Yubaba reveals herself.
Yeah.
It's just so heartwarming. But the movie is it is a relentless punishing pounding of the heartwarming. It's like your heart will be warmed or we'll just warm it some more. But it never gets too sweet or cloying. And that just, there's this great adage in theater. And it's that you may not want everything to be realistic. There's no such thing as realism in theater, but you do want things to be true. And this is a movie where just the decisions the characters make, the pressures they're under, the kind of thinking, the kind of turns that they make all are true. And I love that about them.
Yeah, the decisions. The guy who has the multiple arms, when Sin is helping the young boy who helped her, he says to the one girl, he goes, "You've never been in love before." She's in love with that boy.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's so. It's not something that even needs said, but when it's said, it's not. It doesn't feel like Miyazaki or the writers are talking down to the audience. It's just two characters interacting at a moment in time.
Yeah.
And it's so good that you respect it enough to, when she pulls out that thing and breaks it, not realizing that's a thing Baba put in him to control him.
Yeah.
And that when she goes see the good Yubaba and she goes, I didn't put that in him, my sister did. And you're sort of the realization of, oh my God, okay. And when he comes to her at the good Baba's house, I think is such a all the way, okay, I want you to remember me who I was. And it turns out he was a river that she almost drowned in.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those moments you laugh at, but it's one of those moments you go, holy shit.
You know, this is a movie with such bizarre, such a bizarre sense of mythology for us, and images, and yet it's one of those cases where Miyazaki asks us to buy in just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Until, well, sure, you're the river you almost drowned in. And the characters all say these things like, well, it should be obvious. I was this river all along. Why didn't you know? And you're sort of like, yep, that's sure.
Yeah. It's well, here's the thing. She says, do I know you? You know, so there seems to be, she seems to sort of somewhat, do I know you? She's trying to piece it together.
You asked your doctor that during your last prostate inspection. It turned around in the middle of it. Do I know you?
I think by the way, my favorite scene in this movie, other than the scene where she pulls the thing out and smashes it, is when she falls down the chute with him as he's laying there bleeding, dying, and she wants to save his life. Because this is a girl who does not, she's already lost. She already feels like, I don't know if I'm going to get my parents back, but I'm not going to give up on it. This person has helped me up until this point. I care so much about them. I don't want nothing to happen to them. It's that moment that she realizes, okay, I love him. And I like that setup fact before the pulling the thing out and smashing it, because it makes it all the more real. Like for an anime, that's one thing Miyazaki and his writers do very, very well. Yes, they deal in fantasy in each of their movies, but the fantasies have a touch of reality to them. And I think that's something, as a storyteller, he does and his animators do very, very well. Every Studio Ghibli film I've walked away going, okay. It's My Neighbor Totoro is a bit different because you just feel so happy that the sisters are reunited. And it makes your, like, especially I watched that movie with my kids, and it just melted my heart, because it's like, I could see this happening to somebody, because you always hear about missing people, about kids going missing and stuff. And here's this forest spirit that helps this little girl find her sister.
That was on the police report anyway.
But they always do a great job of telling you one of the most fascinating stories that you've never heard. And I haven't seen The Boy and the Heron, which is Miyazaki's newest one. It's supposed to be his last one, but here's the thing about Miyazaki. He always says he's going to retire and then doesn't. Um, but he's such a great animator. He's a great director. Probably, I would say the best cartoon director ever. Really, just an amazing storyteller.
He is very good.
Yeah, he is.
Version of Metropolis.
What's that?
I think he did a version of Metropolis. I think he did an anime Metropolis.
Let me look. I don't know. Give me a second. I'll be...
All right. Now everything's frozen again. I can't hear Jewel at all. What's he saying? His lips are moving. No words are coming out. Perhaps I've fallen asleep.
Sorry, I muted my microphone. That's all.
I can't imagine why.
Okay, let's see. He did Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro, Nosuke, The Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Grave of the Fireflies, Kiki's Delivery Service, Only Yesterday, Porco Rosso, Ocean Waves, Pom Poko, Whisper of the Heart, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbors, The Yamadas, Spirit of the Way, The Cat Returns, Howl's Moving Castle, Tales from Earthsea, Ponyo, The Secret World of Arietti, From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind Rises, The Tale of the Princess Kugia, When Marnie Was There, or Marina Was There, The Red Turtle, Earwig and the Witch, The Boy and the Heron. So those are the movies he's done as a director.
I don't know why I thought he did a version of Metropolis.
It's all right. He might. Here's the thing about, like, I know he's done a lot of animation for stuff that he didn't direct, so.
That's the anime Metropolis. I dated an anime Metropolis.
Let me see here. Let's see.
Ripping. Yeah, it's it was directed by Rintaro.
Yeah.
Produced by Madhouse. And I guess is it a version of, yeah, it looks like it's a version of the the Fritz Lang movie.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about IMDb. They do got something wrong in there. Miyazaki did not direct Whisper of the Heart, but he was producer on it. One of his predecessors directed it, who actually died of heart failure.
Huh.
So.
At least that's the story.
It's funny that, because that film's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, and Miyazaki didn't direct it at all. I love the fact that he gave his predecessors chances to direct movies that he helped write and helped do. I mean, he didn't have to do that. It's something hey, you get the ball. It's your call what goes in here.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what they do with it, and what they do is an amazing job. I mean, just, I love. By the way, Carrie Elwes voices the cat statue in Whisper of the Heart. Really, really good. So
it's the cat statue he was born to play.
he talked about that, where he said in that movie the cat is ready to retire. In the prequel, The Cat Returns, the cat's full of adventure and all that stuff. But with, now I know who was it? Christian Bale's done Howl's Moving Castle. He's did the most recent film too, The Boy and the Heron. So Christian Bale has done a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff. I guess he likes their work, which is good. So overall, scale 1 to 10, what do you give this movie, Spirited Away?
Oh, got a 10.
Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Straight 10 for me too. It just from start to finish, it's a movie that does not A, lose you, B, keeps you entertained and interested in the characters, not just with Sin, but around her.
Mm-hmm.
And the spirits that come to the bathhouse are just so interesting. It's like, yeah, I just, it's Studio Ghibli is a very, very, very great studio. I've said that, I told you guys, I think if it were an anime lost in space, they do a great job because they put their heart and soul into everything.
Yeah, they really do.
And that's something you want out of a studio that, hey, with their own stuff, they do a great job. Is there anything you want to add about Spirited Away before we go?
This movie. People need to see this movie. It is a very pure film in every sense. And very rarely has something with its heart in the right place like this gotten every note right, and it just does.
I messaged you guys about an episode of Dark Shadows tomorrow. 262
I'm all about it.
is 9:45 good for you?
I love it.
All right. So, by the way, that is the episode where Anthony George makes his debut as Burt Devlin. That's why I chose it.
Curious George himself is there. No man with the yellow hat this time.
That's right. Oh my god! But Patrick, first of all, thank you for joining me for this.
My pleasure. Just in from the road from Mad Monster. So I literally got out of the car and walked in and did this.
Did you have fun?
I did. I did. It was a good show, and it was a real honor to get to spend as much time with Miss Scott as I did. At the prior convention, I knew a lot of people. There were just a lot. There were a lot of other things that were kind of going on and floating around, and that was good. And this one, I don't. Her brother was in, so she got to see him. But other than that, we didn't know anybody, and so that was terrific. What an amazing, interesting person. Ageless. I mean, absolutely ageless, and so smart. And yeah. And this was a big convention for people's mothers. The Scream people were there. There's Scream reunion, and so it had less of a pop culture vibe than the Mad Monster that was in North Carolina a few months ago. And although they had some great pop culture guests, including Jesse Ventura and Catherine and Jesse, the governor, met, and it was like this Norwegian Minnesota power exchange. It was like something out of Highlander, except no one was beheaded, and they were very nice to each other. But that was amazing. Big Minnesotans, and so that was cool. Carl Weathers was on the scene, and I had a dream. I had a dream that Catherine went over and said, "Hey, Patrick said I'll beat you up," and and then Carl Weathers was, suddenly I was in a ring, and we were fighting for the red, white, and blue pants. So anyway, but none of that happened. Lance Henriksen was there.
Yeah.
And he's terrific. Yeah.
Cool. Links to the link to the where you can get the Dark Shadows Book Unbound is going to be in the description box. Go pick it up already if you haven't. Patrick, thank you, my friend. I will see you tomorrow night, sir.
Bye.